Thank you for watching this Last Mile Profits video. Gary and I are both going to be at Parcel+Post Expo in Amsterdam. Keep watching to find out what we think is going to happen at this year's event.
Last Mile Profits is brought to you by Parcel Pending by Quadient.
Gary, it's that time of year, coming up to Parcel+Post Expo. And for those of you who don't remember, it's the 21st to the 23rd of October at RAI in Amsterdam again. And of course, Gary and I are going to be there, aren't we, Gary?
We absolutely are. I kind of wish it was somewhere else because we go to Amsterdam each year for this. It was in Germany 3 years ago, and we had the fantastically titled Locktoberfest booth. And we cannot think of a pun for lockers in Amsterdam. So we'd like them to go somewhere that will give us a new pun opportunity. But meanwhile, we're stuck with Amsterdam.
Well, look, I'm going to be there as well, as I've just mentioned. And maybe it's a good idea to share what we think, or let's do a little bit of prediction. What do we predict is going to be happening there? So if you remember, Gary, when we discussed last year's Parcel+Post Expo, I think that the summary was that actually it was a two-horse race. On one hand, lockers and everything to do with lockers, including software. And then on the other hand, you had electric vehicles.
Yeah, so interestingly, this year, they're shoving all the lockers into one room. So instead of it being sort of dotted, it's in three halls. I think it was seven to 10, or I can't remember, but it's in three separate halls. But now there's going to be a locker hall. So my prediction is that people are going to be lowering their voices when they're talking to potential customers, because you're going to be literally surrounded by your competitors and hip deep in a room full of lockers. Probably more. Last year, I believe we counted 49 locker-related businesses across the show. My prediction is going to be well north of 50.
Well, look, let's then think, Gary. So I think we agree that lockers going to be very important again. There's a whole hall dedicated to them. So we'll have this hall with lockers. There's bound to be one that's going to be pretty full with electric vehicles and, bicycles, that sort of thing, I'd imagine. Can you think of anything else that's because the thing is, I'm not sure how, because it's a service that you'd have to, of course, you can have a stand and so on, but I reckon AI is becoming more and more important. Have you got a view on that?
I think the best way for your business to fail right now would not be to have an AI strategy. And I also remember 5 years ago, everyone said I was going to have a 3D printer at home, and I haven't. So I think it's such a buzzword at the minute and ultra fashionable to talk about. Whether there are genuine AI applications out there that's going to make a difference, or a whole bunch of people trying to look for a way to lever, depending on how you want to pronounce it, AI into their strategy, I don't know. But I think you're absolutely right. Everyone will be talking about it. But I think at the moment, it's a solution out looking for the right problem, not necessarily the way to solve a problem that we've been wrestling with already.
Well, you know what, though, Gary, I have to admit, on a couple of occasions recently, I don't know if you've had it, but I've spoken to what I thought was a human being, and it was a machine. So, I can actually imagine, and it was so professional, so good, I didn't have to wait the usual 3 or 4 minutes to speak to someone.
No.
And I actually spoke to, someone who wasn't really someone, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, my personal view is customer service is where this can have the biggest impact, because the majority, we even got we even call it Wizmo. I'm sure you know what Wizmo is. Where is my order? Wizmo is the number one reason for calling into a carrier. All you need to do is get the tracking number, access their information, and give them an update. That answers 95% of Wizmo queries. The other way to answer 95% of Wizmo queries, by the way, is to wait till the following day, and most of them are resolved by the parcel being delivered. But dealing with that boring, routine, repetitive kind of chaff of contact is an ideal AI application. But I still think you need humans in the background to deal with it when it gets complicated.
Absolutely. So you have the first line would be the robot or the chat bot or I don't know what is it a chat bot when it talks to you?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let's say the talking chat bot. But then, yes, when something gets complicated, you still, for now, need a human. But actually, Gary, there is one other thing. I was blown away with a short vid from one of the latest tech fairs in China showing humanoid robots. And I think we talked about it a couple of years back. We looked at the Boston Dynamics robot that could actually do the sort of things that today's AGVs have a problem with, like walk upstairs and give a human type experience to the consignee. And at the time, it was impossible because this thing cost God knows how many tens of thousands of dollars. But if I'm not mistaken, this technology is getting to the point where it's going to be potentially cheaper than a human being. What about that? What do you think that is the
Well,
future for?
getting us back on topic to Parcel and Post Expo, yes, I think there will be robotics on display. I think there'll be more talk about drones. I think there'll be more talk about these multi-wheeled robot delivery things coming down the street that I'm a massive fan of. Hi, Andrea. And so it's I think there'll be a lot more of that kind of robotic stuff as well. I've got a couple of things to tell you that I'll be doing that are specific if you'd like to hear about them.
Oh,
So
come on then.
we've got a
Come on
one
then.
hour
I'm
we've got a
sure you want to tell us.
We've got a 1 hour workshop, which I can accurately describe as 15 minutes entertainment packed into a 1 hour show. The 15 minutes of entertainment is actually going to come from David Science. David Science is the Chief Commercial Officer for Every. Every are a UK domestic carrier, as you know. They don't really do much in Europe. Oh, well, they do international, but they don't have any domestic European operations since they separated from Hermes in Germany. David's been instrumental with the reconstruction of the modern Every that we see now. And he's going to come and talk about out of home, about lockers, and about how agnostic networks and owned networks can live happily side by side. So it's a good opportunity to hear, if you're a European, how one of the most successful private carriers in Europe are owning the out of home space. Over 110 million out of home parcels in the UK last year just from Every. And the other thing that we'll be doing, and I can't really say too much about it, we will have a significant product announcement to make at the same time. We will have something brand new that we've not previewed or trailed anywhere that we'll be bringing to the show in Amsterdam and launching to the market next month.
So here you have it. Get a chance to see Gary and find out about what Quadient are doing with Every and what Every are doing in the out-of-home space. Perhaps you'll find out something really cool about a new product development from Quadient. Yours truly will also be doing some stuff. So I think it's really worth coming out there to Parcel+Post Expo. I'll remind you, it's 21st, 23rd of October in Amsterdam. And interestingly, if you, dear viewers, think that there's going to be some other big trend at Parcel+Post Expo, feel free to drop a comment below. And finally, please, if you've enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps keep them free for you. Gary, as usual, great talking. And see you in Amsterdam.
See you in Amsterdam.